Let no one lose heart on account of this Philistine. Your servant will go and fight him. Quit being scared, boys. Your victor has showed up. Who showed up? A giant slayer showed up. Don't lose heart any longer. I'm about to take this by the reins and take control of the situation. How? By the power of my God. He going to war for me. And the Philistine, with his shield bearer in front of him, kept coming closer to David. He got the permission. He got the go-ahead. God parted the seas and let him walk through the armies of Israel. A shepherd boy against a giant. But he wasn't a shepherd boy. He was anointed king. He was anointed a giant slayer. Watch this. He looked David over and saw that he was little more than a boy, glowing with health and handsome, and he despised him. Let him despise you. Because who they think you are is not your identity. That place that you are in right now is not your final place. I don't know how I can emphasize this any bit more. You have greatness ahead of you. Watch. It didn't matter what the Philistine thought of David. David knew who he was. David knew who he served. David knew who stood beside him on that battlefield against that big boy. He said to David, am I a dog that you come at me with sticks? And the Philistine cursed David by his gods. David just like, rub it off. Come here, he said, and I'll give your flesh to the birds and the wild animals. David said to the Philistine, I love it. He started trash talking. He had no idea a giant killer was standing before him. He saw what from the outside, but David had heart. And in that heart, he had a God. He had a king. He had a slayer by himself in there. Watch. David said to the Philistine, you come against me with sword and spear and javelin, but I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied. This day the Lord will deliver you into my hands, and I will strike you down and cut off your head. And you know the rest of the story. He took a sling, popped that big boy straight in the forehead. Down he went, and he kept his promise. He ran to him. He didn't even lollygag. He ran straight to him, took big boy's own sword, lopped that head straight off. And do you know what that did in an instant? Do you know what that did in an instant? It inspired a nation. And what that did for that nation, Jesus' victory on that cross ought to do for us. Don't you understand? He defeated sin, death, and the devil. He lopped it off. That what? That we might have our victory. Them boys that were so scared before got a new identity, got a new lease on life, got a new belief within them that what? That they could win now. Why? Because the giant was slain and their giant killer had showed up. And what he had did, we can now do. And they routed the Philistine army all the way out of that valley. And they let the dead flung out across the way as they pursued them. What I'm telling you is in an instant, because of the victory of their giant slayer, they became something new. Those mighty men that we read at first were birthed right then and there, not before. Before they were cowards, before they were quaking, before they had no power, no authority, before they had no ability to raise their eyes. But after their king conquered, they became something brand new. They became fearless. They became mighty. They became bold enough to kill a lion in a pit, bold enough to take an Egyptian on and take his own spear and stab it to him, bold enough to stand in a field full of lentils and take a stand that the army that retreated came back and stripped the dead, bold enough that they'd take a spear against 800, bold enough that they go against 300. How did it happen? Because their victor was championed on that day, and because he won, they won. Because he showed them his identity, they got their identity. And that's what I'm saying Jesus has done for us. He has given us a new identity. The old is gone. What you are right now, that fearful state, that place where you don't want to raise your eyes, that place where you are living in depression and anxiety, and you are being attacked with thoughts, and you can't even believe that you could be a victor. I'm telling you, raise those eyes. He won the victory for you. Square your shoulders, straighten your back, raise your head, and daggone it, believe in what he has done. Get a new lease on life. Get your victory because he has secured it for you. It ain't up to you. He did it. And because he did it, we now can too. Our identity has changed. Listen to me. We went from slaves who had no authority, no power, to sons who walk in the name of God, who are ambassadors in this earth. Don't live less than what you are. You are a son or daughter through the blood of Jesus. In an instant, by your faith in him, everything has changed. You have no idea how mighty you are now.